On Thanksgiving Day, my daughter poured hot soup on my head and laughed. "You have 15 minutes to pack your things and leave." I calmly wiped my face, took out a flash drive, and put it on the table. "You're right. In 15 minutes, your life will be ruined." Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. I set the last fork beside the good china, the wedding set from 1982, still perfect after all these years. Silverware caught candlelight, throwing small shadows across the tablecloth. Outside, car doors slammed. My hand touched my jacket pocket reflexively, felt the rectangular outline of the USB drive. 3 months of documentation. 3 months of recording every conversation, every manipulation. Today it ends, one way or another. The front door opened without a knock. Grace's voice reached me before I saw her face. "You didn't shovel the front walk properly." Pearl almost slipped. I walked into the foyer. "I salted it this morning. Ice melted by 10. She didn't look at me, just shrugged out of her coat. "Whatever. Where should we put these?" Mark followed behind her, carrying his mother's jacket along with his own. Pearl shuffled in last, already scanning the walls with that pinched expression she wore around me. "Closet's where it's always been," I said. Grace handed me her coat without making eye contact. Mark nodded, his version of a greeting. Pearl inspected the coat closet door frame, as though checking for structural damage. In the dining room, Mark lifted the wine bottle I'd set out, turned it to read the label. "This is $12 a bottle. Couldn't spring for something decent?" "It's what I drink," I said. Pearl ran her finger along the windowsill, examined it. "Dust. When did you last clean properly?" "This morning." She made a sound, not quite disagreement, not quite acknowledgement, just judgment compressed into breath. Grace settled on the sofa in the living room, phone already out. Her voice carried deliberately, meant for me to hear. "Yeah, still at Dad's. I know. Hopefully not much longer before we can, you know." My hand returned to my pocket. The USB drive felt warm now, heated by body temperature. Each insult cataloged mentally. My legal training kicked in automatically, documenting patterns, noting contradictions. Grace's college tuition, $87,000 paid in full. Her wedding, $23,000 in costs I covered. Emergency loans over the years, never repaid. The numbers were precise in my mind, backed by bank statements and canceled checks. Dinner started quietly. I carved the turkey, served the plates. Only the sound of silverware against china for the first few minutes. Grace broke the silence. "This house is too big for one person." I set down my fork carefully. "I manage fine." Mark leaned forward, his expression arranged into concern. "But at your age, what if something happens? What if you fall downstairs?" "I'm 67, not 90, I said. "Had my physical last month. Doctor said I'm healthier than most 50-year-olds. Pearl made that sound again. "My son would have made sure I was taken care of. Family looks after family." Grace shifted in her chair, abandoning pretense. "Mark and I talked. This house, it's not fair. We're struggling in that tiny rental. You have 4 bedrooms. You have jobs," I said. "You chose that rental." Mark's voice rose slightly. "Chose? We can't afford anything better. Maybe if someone helped—" "I gave you $47,000 over 2 years, I interrupted. "That's documented." Grace's face flushed. "Loans! You treated your own daughter like a bank client." "You said you'd repay," I said. "I have the texts." Pearl leaned forward, voice venomous. "See, this is what I mean. Cold, calculating. No wonder your daughter—" "Don't." My voice stayed quiet, but something in it stopped her. Grace stood abruptly, plate still half full. She walked to the window overlooking the backyard, stood there for a moment, then turned back to face me. "I'm tired of asking. This house belonged to Mom, too. Half should have been mine when she died." "Your mother's will left everything to me," I said. "You received her jewelry. You sold it." "Sentimental garbage," Grace said. "I needed cash." The room went silent. My hand found the USB drive again, gripped it, decision crystallizing. "The house is mine while I'm alive," I said. "That's not changing." Grace's expression transformed. The manipulative softness vanished, replaced by something genuine, fury unveiled. "While you're alive?" Her voice dropped to dangerous calm. "Interesting phrasing. She exchanged a look with Mark. Pearl smirked. I saw it then, the coalition forming, the unspoken agreement passing between them. 40 years as a prosecutor taught me to recognize conspiracy when I witnessed it. Grace's voice came slowly, each word deliberate. I think we need to have a serious conversation about your future, about what's fair, about what we deserve. I felt the USB drive in my pocket, 3 months of recordings, their voices discussing options when I'm finally gone. Financial documents proving every loan, every manipulation, medical records confirming my competence. Yes, I agreed quietly. I think we do need that conversation. Grace smiled. She thought she'd won. She had no idea. Grace turned from the window and walked back to the table slowly. Didn't sit. Stood over me instead. Let me explain something, Dad. Her voice had gone cold, controlled. You're 77, 67, I corrected. She waved dismissively. Whatever. Point is, you're old, alone. This house is wasted on you. Mark nodded. Pearl leaned forward, anticipating something. I remained seated, placed both hands flat on the table edge. The USB drive stayed in my pocket. Not yet. Let them reveal everything first, Grace continued, emboldened. We've been patient. 2 years of watching you hoard this place. Mark's working 2 jobs, Pearl's living in our cramped apartment, and you sit here in 4 bedrooms like some king. You're working 1 job, I said, voice measured. Mark works 1 job. I checked. Her face flushed. You're checking up on us? That's creepy. You asked me for money, I said. I verified need before giving it. Standard practice. Mark stood now, his voice rising. Standard practice? We're family, not clients. Family repays borrowed money, I said. Clients do too. Pearl's voice came sharp, cutting. My son, Mark's father, he'd never treat family this way. He'd share. He'd be generous. I turned to her. Your son borrowed $15,000 from his brother and never repaid it. Mark told me that story himself. Pearl sputtered. That was different. That was business. So is this, I said. Grace slammed her palm on the table. Nothing about this is business. This is about taking care of your daughter, about doing what's right. What's right, I repeated quietly. Interesting phrase. Mark, emboldened by Grace's anger, stepped closer. Here's what's happening. You're going to sign the house over to Grace. Today. We'll drive to a notary tomorrow. Someone will be open day after Thanksgiving. And if I refuse? I asked. Grace leaned in, her voice vicious now. Then we make life difficult, very difficult. Elderly man, living alone, maybe not as capable as he thinks, maybe forgets things, maybe needs assistance, involuntary assistance. My expression didn't change, but internally I recognized what I was hearing. They'd planned this, discussed conservatorship, competency hearings, legal authority to commit me. My prosecutor mind cataloged it automatically. Conspiracy, extortion, elder abuse. They were confessing on Thanksgiving. Grace continued. We've talked to people. Know what it takes to get someone declared incompetent? Not much. Few missed appointments. Couple neighbors saying you seem confused. Doctor visit where you can't remember details. Pearl nodded eagerly. I'd testify. Gladly. I stood slowly, not threatening, just refusing to be looked down upon. You've thought this through, I said. Grace's smile was triumphant. Yes. Consulted people, I continued. Made plans. Mark's voice came stronger now. We're not stupid. Never thought you were, I said. Just assumed you retained some basic decency. Grace laughed, harsh, brittle. Decency? You want to talk about decency? You got everything when Mom died. Everything. House, savings, her life insurance. What did I get? She left you her jewelry collection, valued at $32,000, I said. You sold it within 3 months for $18,000 because you needed cash for the wedding. Grace froze. How do you... She stopped, fury overtaking shock. You're keeping files on me? I keep records, I said. Habit from 40 years prosecuting criminals. Grace's face contorted. Something snapped behind her eyes. Criminals? You're calling me a criminal? She looked at the table. The serving dishes still sat there. The soup tureen. Turkey soup. Still steaming from when I'd brought it from the stovetop. Mark saw her expression, started to stand. Grace, don't... Too late. Grace grabbed the tureen handles, ceramic hot to touch, but rage overrode pain. She lifted it. I saw it happening. Didn't move. Prosecutor instinct. Let the crime complete. Document everything. The soup hit my head, shoulders, upper chest, scalding, turkey stock, vegetables, noodles, temperature around 180, hot enough to burn, not enough for hospital-level injury, but painful. It streamed down my face, soaked my collar, my jacket. My eyes closed reflexively against the heat, skin immediately reddening on my forehead, cheeks. Grace held the empty tureen, breathing hard. Then she laughed, high-pitched, hysterical. There! There! How's that for respect? Mark sat frozen. Pearl's expression showed shock, but not disapproval. I reached for a napkin with controlled movements, wiped my face slowly, methodically. Soup dripped from my hair onto my shoulders. Jacket ruined. Good. Evidence. Grace's breathing slowed, her voice cold now, calculated. I'm done asking. I'm done being patient. You have 15 minutes to pack essentials and get out. This house is ours now. Try to call police? We'll say you attacked first. 3 witnesses against 1 confused old man. Pearl added quickly, I'll swear to it. Mark found his voice, weak but present. She's right, Jesse. Better just go. I continued wiping, soup in my eyebrows, ears, face stinging, shirt probably ruined. But my mind stayed clear, clearer than it had been in 2 years. This was the moment, the assault, the threat, the conspiracy completed and confessed. I stood slowly, not gathering belongings, just standing. Reached into my jacket pocket. Soup soaked, but the pocket stayed dry inside. I pulled out the USB drive, small, black, nondescript. Kingston brand, 32 gigabytes. Placed it carefully on the table center. Soup pooled around it briefly before I wiped the nearby surface. Grace, Mark, Pearl, all staring at the drive, confused. You're right, I said. Grace's voice came suspicious. About what? About 15 minutes, I said. That's accurate. In approximately 15 minutes, your life is going to collapse. Grace looked from the drive to my face, soup still dripping from my chin. What's that supposed to be? Documentation, I said. 3 months' worth. Recordings, financial statements, legal documents, everything. Mark laughed nervously. Recordings of what? I looked at Grace, ignoring Mark. October 13th, phone conversation with someone named Diane. Quote, once he's gone, we can finally get out of that dump. His house will cover everything. Wedding debt, Mark's car loan, everything. Grace's face paled. November 2nd, I continued. Conversation with Mark in my driveway. Quote, how much longer do you think he'll last? My mom says he looks weak. Pearl shifted uncomfortably. November 19th, I said. Phone call to county legal aid. You asking about conservatorship procedures for elderly parents. Steps to declare someone incompetent. Silence filled the room. Grace's hand trembled slightly as she reached for the USB drive. This is illegal, she said. Recording people without consent? My voice shifted. Lawyer voice. Cold. Professional. Pennsylvania is one-party consent state. I consented. Every recording is legal. Every document is notarized. Every fact is verified. I turned to leave, walked toward the stairs. Stopped at the doorway. Didn't look back. By all means, plug it in, see everything. Then you'll understand exactly what happens when you underestimate a prosecutor. Grace picked up the drive, looked at Mark. He nodded slightly. She walked to the living room where her laptop sat. Opened it. I climbed the stairs, entered the bathroom, removed the soup-soaked jacket carefully, evidence preserved, ran cold water, pressed a cloth to the burns on my face, watched myself in the mirror. 15 minutes, I said to my reflection. Let's see if I was accurate. Downstairs, the laptop booted up. USB drive slid into the port. The first file opened. Grace's sharp intake of breath carried up the stairs. I smiled for the first time that evening. Upstairs, I pressed a cold washcloth to the reddened skin on my forehead. The sting was sharp but manageable. First-degree burns, nothing requiring a hospital. Through the bathroom floor vent, house sounds carried clearly. Laptop fan humming. Grace's breathing audible even from this distance. Downstairs, Grace double-clicked the first folder. Her screen filled with PDF thumbnails, legal documents, official seals visible even in thumbnail view. She clicked the first one. Pennsylvania state seal at top. Notary stamp bottom right. Date, September 18th, 2024. Last will and testament of Jesse Robert Turner. Mark leaned closer. What's it say? Grace scrolled. Read, her face drained of color. Pearl impatient. Well? Grace's voice came flat with shock. Everything goes to charity. What do you mean everything? Mark asked. Grace read aloud, mechanical. I, Jesse Robert Turner, being of sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath my entire estate, including but not limited to real property located at 4127 Willow Grove Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all financial assets, investment accounts, and personal property, to the Veterans Support Foundation of Pennsylvania. Silence. Pearl's voice came sharp. That can't be legal. You're his daughter. There are laws. Grace scrolled faster. Disinheritance clause. I specifically and intentionally make no provision for my daughter, Grace Turner Phillips, having provided substantial financial support during my lifetime, totaling, her voice caught, totaling $87,000 in educational expenses and $47,000 in personal loans between 2023 and 2024. Mark stumbled back to the couch, sat heavily. Grace, desperation creeping in. This is fake. Has to be. He did this tonight after... But the date, September, 2 months ago. She clicked the next document. Property deed. Updated title showing Jesse as sole owner. Previous joint ownership with deceased spouse formally cleared. Recorded with county October 2nd, 2024. Next document. Rental agreement. Jesse Turner as tenant. Jesse Turner as landlord through revocable trust. Term, 10 years. Monthly rent, $1. Right of first refusal to purchase. Option expires 2034. Mark, confused. He's renting from himself? Grace's understanding dawned, her voice hollow. He's protecting it. Trust owns the house. He rents it. If he dies, trust continues. Charity gets it eventually, but nobody can evict him. Nobody can force sale. Nobody can claim inheritance because, technically, he doesn't own it anymore. It's legal shelter. Upstairs, I changed into a clean shirt, hung the soup-stained jacket carefully on the shower rod. Evidence preserved. Checked my face in the mirror. Red patches on forehead and left cheek. Nothing severe. Pain manageable. I descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. Prosecutor entering courtroom, not victim fleeing scene. Grace heard the footsteps. Didn't look up from the screen, just kept scrolling through folder after folder. I entered the living room, stood in the archway, waited. Mark saw me first, opened his mouth, closed it. No words came. Pearl found her voice, aggressive. You can't do this. This is abuse. Elder abuse, using your age to manipulate. Elder abuse is defined as exploitation of persons 65 or older, I said calmly. I'm the elder. You're living in my house rent-free while plotting to have me declared incompetent. That's the definition you're looking for. Grace clicked the next folder. Audio files. Dozens. Each labeled with date and participants. She clicked one at random. October 13th, 2024. Grace Diane phone conversation. Her own voice filled the room through the laptop speakers. Can't wait much longer. Mark's drowning in debt. We need that house. Diane's voice. What about your dad? Grace's voice laughing. What about him? He's got maybe 10 years left if we're unlucky. House sits there wasted while we're crammed in that apartment. Grace slammed the laptop shut. Silence echoed. Mark's voice shook. You recorded us? Pennsylvania is one-party consent state, I said. I was present or participant in every conversation. Completely legal. Grace stood, laptop forgotten. You were spying on your own family. Documenting evidence of conspiracy to commit elder abuse, attempted coercion, and financial exploitation, I corrected. 40 years as prosecutor taught me that evidence matters. Pearl tried. Nobody will believe this. You're twisting things. I pulled my phone from my pocket, tapped the screen. November 2nd, your conversation with Grace about how much longer I'd last. November 19th, your suggestion that I seem confused lately when speaking with the mailman, establishing pattern for competency hearing. Would you like me to play those? Pearl's face hardened. She said nothing. Grace sat back down. Her hands trembled slightly as she clicked through more files. Bank statements. Joint account. closed October 28th, 2024. Balance transferred to Jesse's individual account, $12,247.63. Grace's emergency access eliminated. Investment account statements. Balance $231,456.89 as of October 30th, 2024. Account restructured into irrevocable trust. Beneficiary. Veterans Support Foundation. Grace's voice broke. Not tears, just rage. You stripped everything. Everything Mom left. Your mother left everything to me, I said factually. Her will, dated 2018, explicitly stated that. You received her jewelry collection, valued at $32,000. You sold it for $18,000 within 3 months. That was your inheritance. Mark tried a different angle. Jesse, we can talk about this. There's been tension, sure, but family works through things. I cut him off. Family doesn't pour scalding soup on family members. Family doesn't conspire to steal property. Family doesn't threaten false testimony about incompetence. Silence. I consulted my watch, not checking time, just making the gesture. Pennsylvania law requires 48-hour notice for eviction of residents without legal tenancy. You've been living here 4 days this month, 8 days last month. You have no lease, pay no rent, have no legal claim. I'm providing that notice now. Grace stood again, laptop nearly falling. This is insane. You can't. My voice hardened. First real edge. I can. I did. 48 hours starting now, which means Saturday evening at approximately this time. Anything remaining after that point will be considered abandoned property. Grace looked at Mark. Mark looked at Pearl. Pearl looked at the laptop screen still displaying legal documents. I turned toward the kitchen. Grace's voice came desperate, shifting tactics. Wait, Dad. Please wait. I paused. Didn't turn around. Grace, softer, calculated. There has to be something, some way to fix this. I made mistakes. I'm sorry. The soup that was, I lost control. But we're family. There has to be a way. Keep scrolling through the files, I said, still not turning. 4th folder. I walked into the kitchen. Sound of the faucet running, glass filling. Grace exchanged a look with Mark. Sat. Opened the laptop again. 4th folder. Title, Financial Recovery Documentation. She clicked it open. Single PDF file. Legal letterhead. Campbell and Associates, attorneys at law. Dated November 26th, 2024. Yesterday. Notice of intent to file civil suit for recovery of debt. Grace's name, Mark's name as co-debtor, having signed several loan requests. Amount claimed, $47,000 plus interest calculated at Pennsylvania, legal rate of 6% per annum. Payment terms offered, $500 monthly for 10 years, or lump sum settlement. Alternative, civil judgment, wage garnishment, credit reporting. Grace's hands gripped the laptop edge, knuckles white. Mark read over her shoulder, whispered, "We can't afford $500 a month. We're barely making rent now." Pearl reading, her voice uncertain for the first time. "This says wages can be garnished. That's your paycheck, Grace. And Mark's." Grace looked toward the kitchen, where I stood drinking water, back to the living room. Her voice came barely audible. "What have we done?" Mark clicked back through the folders, counted files, 37 audio recordings, 42 document scans, bank statements covering 24 months. "This is months of work," he said quietly. "He's been planning this for months." Pearl, defensive but less certain. "So what? It's vindictive. Shows he's unstable." Grace interrupted, sharp. "It shows he's a lawyer." Was a lawyer, prosecutor. She looked toward the kitchen where my silhouette was visible through the archway. "He built a case against us." I returned to the living room doorway, carried my water glass. Didn't drink, just a prop for the appearance of casual calm. "Not a case," I corrected. "Multiple cases, civil recovery for debt, eviction for trespass, documentation for potential criminal charges if you attempt the competency hearing you discussed." Mark looked up. "Criminal charges?" I set the water glass on the side table, remained standing, positional authority. 3 months ago, Grace called me at midnight, emergency. Needed $3,000 for medical bills. I transferred money next morning. 2 weeks later, I saw Facebook photos of your weekend in Atlantic City. Roulette tables, expensive restaurant. Grace opened her mouth, closed it. I continued, voice steady, not angry, just factual. "That's fraud. lying to obtain money under false pretenses. Pennsylvania defines it as theft by deception when amount exceeds $200. Felony threshold is $2,000. You requested $3. Mark stood, hands raised. Now wait, that's not what happened. She really thought there were medical bills? I turned to Mark. April 15th this year. You borrowed $4,000 for car repairs after accident. Showed me photos of damage. I reverse image searched them later. Stock photos from insurance website, dated 2019. Mark's face flushed. Also felony theft by deception, I said. I have the text messages, the fabricated photos, your written promise to repay within 60 days. It's been 7 months. Pearl stood now, voice rising. This is entrapment. You gave them money knowing entrapment requires law enforcement inducing crimes that wouldn't otherwise occur, I said calmly. I'm not law enforcement. I'm a victim who documented crimes after they happened, repeatedly. Grace closed the laptop, stood, faced me directly. You think you've won. Think you've backed us into a corner. Her voice steadied, finding footing. But I'm still your daughter. That means something in court. Judges don't like parents who cut off children completely. I interrupted. Pennsylvania has no filial responsibility for inheritance. I can leave my estate to anyone, already confirmed with 3 separate attorneys. Grace switched tactics. Fine, but this? She gestured at the laptop. Recording family conversations? Orchestrating situations to make us look bad? That shows premeditation. Shows you manipulated us. Shows I protected myself, I said. After you told Mark, October 20th, conversation in my driveway, that you wished I'd just have a stroke or something quick. I recorded everything after that date. Mark's head snapped up. You heard that? Bedroom window was open, I said. You weren't quiet. Silence. The weight of realized surveillance settling. Grace tried a different angle, voice softer. What about the house? You really going to let strangers have it? Mom's house? Where I grew up. You wanted me out of Mom's house 45 minutes ago, I said factually. Poured soup on my head to emphasize the point. Now it's sentimentally valuable? I was angry, Grace said. People say things when... You assaulted me, I interrupted. Witnesses present. That's simple assault under Pennsylvania code. Misdemeanor, but with my documented burns, could argue aggravated assault. That's felony. Mark, who'd been scrolling through his phone, looked up suddenly. Grace, your car. Grace distracted. What about it? Registration, insurance, title, whose name? Grace froze, turned slowly to me. The Lexus is registered to me, I said. Title in my name. You're listed as authorized driver. Insurance through my policy. Mark's voice climbed. That's her car. You gave it to her for her birthday. I gave her use of it, I said. Never transferred title. Legally, it's mine. You've driven it approximately 14,000 miles this year. I've been documenting fuel costs, maintenance, insurance payments, total $9,200. I pulled a folded paper from my pocket, placed it on the coffee table. Pennsylvania Vehicle Code, Section 3701, unauthorized use of vehicle. When owner demands return and driver refuses, becomes theft. This is formal demand for return. 72 hours to deliver vehicle to my driveway with keys. Otherwise, I report it stolen. Grace snatched the paper, read. Legal letterhead again, Campbell and Associates. Same attorney who prepared the debt notice, dated today. Mark, calculating. We need that car. Grace's job is 12 miles away. My office is 15. Public transportation, I said. Uber, carpool, not my concern. Grace's voice came desperate, thin. You're destroying us. Over what? Hurt feelings? Wounded pride? First flash of real anger, controlled but visible. Over theft, lies, conspiracy, assault, elder abuse, pick your crime. Pearl found her voice venomous. This is revenge, pure revenge. You're using the law as a weapon because your feelings got hurt. You're cruel, vindictive, just like... I cut her off, voice ice. Just like what? Just like someone who spent 40 years putting actual criminals in prison? Yes, exactly like that. We're not criminals, Pearl said. You participated in conspiracy to defraud, I said. You offered to provide false testimony in competency hearing. That's perjury and conspiracy, both crimes. Pearl faltered. I didn't mean November 19th, I said. Phone call to Grace. Your exact words, I'll tell any judge he's losing it. Forgot my name twice last week. You never visited last week. I have calendar records, security camera footage. That's premeditated perjury. Pearl sat heavily, face pale. Grace, still scrolling through the laptop, opened another folder, bank statements, saw the joint account closure notice. The emergency account. $12,000. That was for emergencies. Medical bills, home repairs. Your emergencies, I said. Not mine. You accessed it 19 times in 2 years. Total withdrawn, $11,800. Documented purposes, 3 trips, 5 restaurant charges over $200 each, shopping at luxury stores, 0 medical bills, 0 home repairs. Grace started. You needed my money without asking, I interrupted. Without explaining, without repaying. That account required both signatures for withdrawal. You forged my signature 4 times. I have the withdrawal slips, compared signatures. Hired handwriting analyst, that's forgery, also felony. Mark dropped into a chair, head in his hands. Grace's voice broke, genuine fear now. What do you want? There has to be something you want. People don't do this without wanting something. I walked to the laptop, reached past Grace, opened another folder she hadn't seen yet. 5th folder, investment accounts. Grace looked at the screen. Statement from Vanguard. Account number partially visible. Balance line, 231,456.89. Date, October 30th, 2024. Status, transferred to irrevocable trust. Beneficiary, Veteran Support. Foundation of Pennsylvania. Trustee, Campbell and Associates. Below that, another document. Life insurance policy. Metropolitan Life. Death benefit, $250,000. Beneficiary change from Grace Turner Phillips to Veterans Support Foundation. Date of change, September 22nd, 2024. Grace's voice came hollow. $250,000, life insurance, that was mine. You always said, I said many things when I thought you were my daughter, I said, when I believed family meant loyalty. I was wrong. I walked toward the stairs, paused. 48 hours for eviction, 72 for the car, debt repayment plan or lawsuit filed Monday morning. You have options, limited but present. I suggest you start planning instead of arguing. Mark looked up. And if we refuse, all of it, just refuse? I spoke from the stairs, not turning. Then I proceed with every legal action available. Eviction becomes trespassing arrest. Car becomes stolen vehicle report. Debt becomes judgment and garnishment. Fraud complaints get filed with district attorney. I still know people there. I climbed 3 steps, stopped, added. I spent 40 years making cases stick. I know how to document, how to testify, how to present evidence. You're not the first people who thought they could manipulate the system. You're just the first who tried to manipulate me. I continued upstairs. My bedroom door closed. Downstairs, 3 people sat in silence, laptop screen glowing, showing documents that dismantled their futures line by line. Grace finally whispered, "We can't pay $500 a month, can't afford rent without the car, can't live anywhere in 48 hours. Mark's voice came quiet. What do we do? Pearl said nothing, had no answers. Upstairs I sat on the bed edge, listened through the floor. Old house, sound carried well. Their voices murmured below, urgent whispers, someone crying. Grace, probably. Mark's deeper voice agitated. My phone buzzed. Text from Stephen Campbell, my attorney. Documents filed. Sheriff scheduled for tomorrow noon. Eviction notice served per Pennsylvania statute. Everything solid. I replied, understood, thank you. Set the phone aside. Waited. 40 years prosecuting criminals taught me pattern recognition. Cornered people follow predictable paths. Denial, bargaining, anger, desperate action. Grace had cycled through the first 3 tonight. Desperate action came next. Question was what form it would take. Downstairs, Grace's voice rose slightly, making a phone call, trying for privacy, but failing. David, it's Grace. I know it's late, but I need legal advice. Emergency. Pause. My father, he's done something crazy, changed his will, cutting me out completely. Says I have 48 hours to leave his house. Can he do that? Longer pause. I could imagine the person on the other end, David something, clinic colleague Grace mentioned once, attended law school but never practiced. Grace, voice desperate. But there are laws about disinheriting children, right? He can't just... Pause. What do you mean Pennsylvania has no filial requirement? That can't be... Pause. Her voice shifting, calculating. Okay, what about competency? He's 67, acting erratically, making bizarre decisions. Could we argue diminished capacity? Get the will overturned? My hand moved to the phone. Opened a folder I'd prepared for exactly this. Medical documentation from Dr. Patricia Morrison, geriatric specialist. Comprehensive evaluation dated November 20th, 2024, 8 days ago. Cognitive function tests, memory assessments, capacity evaluation. Results. Exceptional for age, no impairment detected. Legally competent for all decisions. Grace continuing. How do we start that process? What's needed for evaluation? Pause. Court order first? That takes how long? Pause. Weeks? We don't have weeks. He wants us out in 2 days. Her voice cracking. Mark saying something I couldn't hear. Pearl's response, sharper, urging, Grace steadying. Listen, I'll pay your consultation rate. Can you meet tomorrow morning, look at documents, tell me our options? Pause. 900 for consultation? Pause. Fine, yes, tomorrow at 10. Your office. She ended the call. Silence below. Mark's voice clearer now. What did he say? Grace said Pennsylvania law is on Dad's side, but also said competency challenges can work if we document behavior patterns, confusion, memory loss, irrational decisions. Pearl eager. I can testify to that. Seen him forget things multiple times? Grace. You haven't visited in 3 months. Dad has calendar records proving it. Pearl deflating. Right. Mark. What about the recordings? Aren't they illegal somehow? Invasion of privacy? Grace. David says Pennsylvania is one-party consent. If Dad was present, recordings are legal. Pause. He thought of everything, planned every detail. Silence. Mark, desperate. There has to be something. Medical emergency? Say he threatened us? Self-defense? Grace. With what evidence? He has recordings proving we plotted against him. I assaulted him. There are witnesses. Us. More silence. Then Grace's voice, changing tone, softer, calculated. What if we apologize? Really apologize? Beg? Play on his emotions? He's still my father. Has to feel something. I smiled in the darkness upstairs. There it was. Emotional manipulation. Last resort of the cornered. I stood, walked to the bedroom door, opened it, descended the stairs slowly, letting each step announce my approach. They fell silent immediately. I entered the living room, 3 faces turning toward me, Grace's eyes red but calculating, Mark standing near the window, ready to leave or fight, unclear which. Pearl on the couch edge, diminished. I heard you, I said simply. Phone call to David from your clinic, discussing competency challenge. Grace caught but defiant. You were listening? My house, my stairs. Not my fault sound carries. I pulled my phone from my pocket. Also, you're on my Wi-Fi network. Did you know router logs show every device connected, including what websites visited? Grace's face paled. She'd been Googling Pennsylvania inheritance law, probably. Competency hearing procedures, elder abuse claims. I opened a folder on my phone, extended it toward her. Last file on the USB. You didn't scroll that far. Grace took the phone reluctantly. Opened the document. Medical report. Official letterhead. Morrison Geriatric Associates. She read. Face draining of color. Mark reading over her shoulder. Comprehensive cognitive evaluation. Performed November 20th, 2024. Patient Jesse Turner, age 67. Results. MMSE score 30/30, perfect. Montreal Cognitive Assessment 28/30, superior. Executive function tests, all normal ranges. Conclusion. Patient demonstrates cognitive function well above average for age cohort. No evidence of dementia, memory impairment, or diminished decision-making capacity. Patient is fully competent for all legal and financial decisions. Grace's hands trembled slightly holding the phone. I scheduled that evaluation 3 weeks ago, I said. After overhearing your October conversation about options when he finally loses it, I predicted every move you'd make, documented, prepared counter evidence. That's what prosecutors do. Grace handed the phone back, sat slowly. When she spoke, her voice was completely different, small, childlike. Daddy, please. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. But I'm your daughter, your only child. Mom wouldn't want this. I felt nothing. Watched her performance clinically. Remember when I was little? You taught me to ride bike in the driveway. Took me to father-daughter dances. You loved me then. I loved who I thought you were. I corrected. That child doesn't exist anymore. Maybe never did. Grace, tears now, real or performed, didn't matter. I can change. We can fix this. Family counseling. I'll pay back the money, slowly, but I'll pay it. Just don't destroy us. You poured near-boiling soup on my head 90 minutes ago. Told me to leave my own house. That's who you are now. Mark stepped forward. Jesse, be reasonable. We'll leave. Accept the debt terms. $500 monthly. But don't take the car. Grace needs it for work. I need it for... The car is mine. Legally. You've driven it without compensation for 2 years. That ends. Pearl found her voice. This is cruel. You're punishing mistakes with complete destruction. That's not justice. That's revenge. I turned to her. You conspired to commit perjury. Planned to testify falsely in competency hearing. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. Pearl shrank back. Grace shifting tactics again. Okay. We'll accept everything. Debt, eviction, car. But please, the criminal charges. Don't file those. I'll lose my job. Mark will lose his. We'll never recover. Should have considered that before committing fraud multiple times. Mark, desperate. What do you want? There has to be something. Money? We don't have it now, but we could... There's nothing you have that I want. You already took everything that mattered. My trust, my dignity, my belief in family. I can't get those back, but I can ensure you don't profit from taking them. Grace stood abruptly. Emotional appeals failing, anger returning. Fine, you want war? You'll get it. I'll fight the eviction, file counterclaims, harassment, emotional abuse, elderly man weaponizing legal system. With what lawyer? I asked calmly. You can't afford $500 monthly debt payment. Consultation fee you just agreed to. $900, that's probably 2 weeks' salary. Court filing fees, attorney retainers, thousands. I have retirement savings and legal expertise. You have debt and desperation. Mark tried once more. If we leave peacefully, return the car, start debt payments, will you drop criminal complaints? I considered. Let them hope briefly. No, criminal complaints aren't mine to drop. They belong to district attorney's office. If I file them, which I haven't decided yet, prosecutors determine whether to pursue. I'd be witness, not plaintiff. Grace's voice broke. So there's no way out? Nothing we can do? You can leave in 48 hours as instructed, return vehicle in 72, begin debt payments, avoid further fraud or threats. That prevents additional charges. Mark pulled Grace aside, whispered urgently. She shook her head. He insisted. Finally she nodded. They turned back to me. Mark, voice steady, trying for dignity. We'll leave Saturday evening. We'll return the car Sunday. We'll start payments somehow. But you need to know something. I waited. You've won, legally, financially, tactically. You've destroyed us, but you've also destroyed yourself. I raised an eyebrow. How so? You'll die alone, completely alone, no family, no one who cares. You'll spend your last years in this house surrounded by legal documents and recordings of the daughter you drove away. That's not victory, that's just sad. Grace added quietly. He's right. You've proven you're smarter than us, stronger, better prepared. Congratulations. Hope it keeps you warm when you're 80 and eating Thanksgiving dinner alone. They walked toward the stairs to the guest rooms where they had left their belongings. Pearl followed without a word. I stood in the living room, their words hanging in the air, didn't respond, didn't need to. They thought loneliness would hurt, thought isolation was punishment. They didn't understand. After 40 years watching families destroy each other in courtrooms, after seeing what people do for money and property, after tonight, solitude wasn't punishment. It was peace. I climbed the stairs to my bedroom, Behind me, sounds of them packing in guest rooms, drawers opening, closet doors. Tomorrow would be interesting. Dawn light through bedroom windows woke me. 6:15 by the bedside clock. Friday morning, downstairs, silence. They were still here, sleeping or pretending to sleep in the guest rooms. 40 hours remained on the eviction notice. By tomorrow evening, they'd be gone, voluntarily or otherwise. I dressed, made coffee in the kitchen. The house felt different, lighter somehow, despite 3 hostile people upstairs. Or perhaps because of their impending departure. My phone buzzed. Text from Stephen Campbell. Sheriff confirmed for noon. Bring eviction notice, property deed, rental agreement, standard procedure. I replied confirmation. Another buzz, voicemail notification. Cousin Margaret from Pittsburgh. Left the message at 11 p.m. last night. Unusual. We spoke maybe twice yearly. Retrieve voicemail. Jesse, it's Margaret. Grace called me, very upset. Said you've had some kind of breakdown, threatening to evict her. Please call me. Concerned about you. I smiled grimly. So it begins. Next voicemail. Uncle Robert from Harrisburg. Jesse, heard from Grace. What's going on? She says you're acting strange, making wild accusations. Family shouldn't treat family this way. Call me. Third voicemail. Cousin Linda. This is unlike you. Grace says you need help. Should we be worried? We're family. We can figure this out together. 4 more voicemails. Similar content. Grace had worked late into the night, calling every relative with a phone number, painting a picture, elderly father having breakdown, persecuting innocent daughter, needs intervention, classic manipulation, create narrative, spread it wide, isolate target. I sat at the kitchen table, made a list of callers, drafted a simple email response, attached 3 files, audio recording of soup assault, photo of my burned face taken last night, legal summary from Stephen Campbell outlining documented fraud, subject line, the other side of the story, email text. You've heard Grace's version. Here's documented evidence. Draw your own conclusions. If you have questions, call me directly. Sent to all voicemail numbers. Within 20 minutes, the phone rang. Margaret. Jesse, I just listened to that recording. Is that really... Did she actually... Yes, that really happened. About 9 p.m. Thanksgiving night. 2 witnesses present. Neither stopped her. Margaret shocked. And the fraud? The loan she never repaid? Documented across 2 years. $47,000. Multiple false pretenses. I have bank records, text messages, signed loan agreements. Silence. Then, why didn't you tell anyone? Because I kept hoping she'd change. That family loyalty meant something. I was wrong. Margaret quiet. I'm sorry. For calling without hearing your side first. Your family. You were supposed to call. That's what Grace counted on. By 11 a.m., 5 relatives had called back. 3 apologized. 2 asked what they could do to help. None offered support to Grace. I checked the security camera feed on my phone. Installed cameras 4 weeks ago. Motion activated, covering front door, driveway, back entrance. Grace didn't know they existed. Neither did Mark or Pearl. At 11:40, the sheriff's vehicle pulled into the driveway. Deputy James Crawford, I'd testified in his cases years ago, back when I was prosecuting. I met him at the door before he knocked. Mr. Turner, been a while. He extended his hand. I shook it. Deputy Crawford, appreciate you handling this. Got the paperwork from Campbell and Associates, clean filing. Got the eviction notice, property documentation. I handed him a folder, everything organized. Deed showing sole ownership, rental agreement showing I was legal tenant, eviction notice filed through proper channels, photographs of my burns, evidence of assault justifying immediate eviction. Crawford reviewed, nodded. Occupants still inside? 3 people, daughter, son-in-law, his mother, guest rooms upstairs. They aware this is happening? I gave verbal 48-hour notice Wednesday evening. This makes it official. He knocked on the door frame loudly, called up the stairs. Philadelphia County Sheriff's Office. Need all occupants in main living area immediately. Sounds of movement upstairs, doors opening. Grace appeared at top of stairs, dressed, composed, ready. She'd been prepared for this. Mark behind her, Pearl last. They descended, stood in the living room. Crawford, formal tone. I'm Deputy Crawford, Philadelphia County Sheriff's Office. I'm here to serve formal eviction notice to Grace Turner Phillips, Mark Phillips, and Pearl Phillips. He handed each of them papers. Under Pennsylvania law, you're required to vacate these premises within 24 hours of service. That means by noon tomorrow, Saturday, November 30th. Failure to comply results in forcible removal and potential criminal trespass charges. Grace, voice controlled. This is my father's house. I grew up here. This is... Crawford, cutting her off. Property deed shows sole ownership by Jesse Turner. Rental agreement shows Mr. Turner as legal tenant. You have no legal claim to residence. 24 hours. Mark. We need more time. Finding apartment, moving belongings. Crawford. That's between you and property owner. My job is serving notice. Law says 24 hours for non-paying occupants. Mr. Turner's being generous. Most situations, it's immediate. Pearl attempting sympathy. I'm 64 years old. Health problems. Can't just be thrown out on the street. Crawford unmoved. Ma'am, you have 24 hours to arrange accommodation. Multiple shelters in Philadelphia accept walk-ins. Social services can help. But you cannot remain here past tomorrow noon. He turned to me. Anything else needed? Vehicle registration issue. They're using car registered in my name. Filed formal demand for return. 72 hours from yesterday evening. Crawford made a note. That's separate civil matter, but if they don't return vehicle after written demand, becomes theft. Keep documentation. I have everything documented. After Crawford left, Pearl made one final attempt, followed me to the kitchen while Grace and Mark conferred in the living room. Jesse, please, I know I said things. Supported Grace when I shouldn't have, but I'm an old woman with nowhere to go. Grace and Mark, they'll figure something out. But me, I have nobody else. I filled a coffee cup. Didn't respond. Pearl continuing. My Social Security is $800 a month. Can't afford apartment on that. Can't work. Arthritis too bad. You're sending me to homeless shelter. You conspired to commit perjury. Offered false testimony to have me declared incompetent. Those are crimes. I was just talking. Didn't mean... You meant it. November 19th phone call. November 24th. Conversation with Grace in my garage. Yes, I heard that too. Window was open. You actively planned my institutionalization. Because you wanted your son to inherit through his wife. Pearl, voice hardening. My son was good man. Would have taken care of family. Not like you. Cold, calculating. Your son died owing his brother $15,000. Mark told me that story himself. Your family's pattern of not repaying debts predates Grace. Pearl straightened. You'll regret this. Karma exists. So does accountability. 24 hours. She left the kitchen, heard her climbing stairs, door slamming. Evening, 6 p.m. Grace and Pearl in guest rooms, packing methodically. Mark knocked on my bedroom door. Can we talk? Man to man? I opened the door, stood in the doorway, blocking entrance. What do you need? Mark, attempting casual. Look, tomorrow we're gone. You win. But between us, off the record, you really going to file criminal charges? Haven't decided. Because if you do, my record gets flagged. I work security clearance contract. Fraud charge means I lose job immediately. Not after conviction, after charge, even if dismissed later. Should have considered that before defrauding me. Mark's expression shifted. Casual gone. Something harder underneath. You know what happens when men have nothing left to lose? I met his eyes. Is that a threat? It's a question. Man loses job, can't pay bills, criminal record prevents future employment. What's he got left to protect? I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened an app, turned the screen toward him. Security camera feed. 4 angles visible. Front door, driveway, hallway where we stood, living room behind him. Cameras installed 4 weeks ago. Motion activated, audio and video, cloud storage. Everything you just said is recorded. Threats against witness in criminal matter. That's witness intimidation. Separate felony. Mark's face drained. I continued. Also, you're physically larger than me. I'm 67 with documented injuries from your wife's assault. Any violence you commit becomes aggravated assault on elderly victim. Pennsylvania takes that seriously. Mandatory minimum sentencing. Mark stepped back, hands raised. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. You tried to intimidate me into dropping charges. Failed. Now you've created additional evidence. I suggest you pack and leave quietly, because every minute you stay here, every word you say, goes into my documentation." Mark retreated to the guest room, heard urgent whispered conversation between him and Grace. Couldn't make out words, didn't need to. Pattern clear. Every attempt to counter my strategy failed, because I'd predicted each move. My phone buzzed. Text from Stephen Campbell. "Eviction proceeds tomorrow noon. I'll be present with law enforcement backup if needed. Also, debt collection paperwork ready to file Monday morning. Need your authorization." I typed response. Authorized. File Monday. Full amount plus interest. Sat on the bed edge. Looked around the bedroom. Master bedroom I'd shared with my wife for 28 years, before cancer took her. Room where Grace was conceived, where I'd read her bedtime stories as a child. Tomorrow, Grace would leave this house for the final time, not as daughter visiting father, as defendant in civil lawsuit, as person who committed assault in this very house. No sentiment, just fact. Downstairs, sounds of movement. Boxes being carried to cars, they must have found some. Probably Mark's vehicle, since the Lexus would be returned Sunday. I walked to the window. Watched them load the trunk, Grace's face set in hard lines. Mark avoiding looking toward the house. Pearl moving slowly, defeated. They'd spend tonight somewhere else. Cheap motel, probably, using credit card they couldn't afford. Tomorrow, the sheriff would verify empty premises. Sunday, I'd recover my Lexus. Monday, lawsuit filed. This was what justice looked like. Not dramatic, not satisfying in traditional sense, just systematic dismantling of those who had exploited trust. I returned to bed, set alarm for tomorrow morning. Downstairs, the front door opened, closed, locked from outside using their keys. They still had them. Silence. House empty except for me. Exactly as it should be. Saturday morning arrived with sharp November cold. I watched frost patterns on the bedroom window while coffee brewed downstairs. Security camera app showed an empty driveway. They'd left Friday evening, taking immediate necessities. Today they'd return for everything else. Furniture from guest rooms, clothing, personal items accumulated over months of freeloading. My phone showed 9:47 a.m. Sheriff's deadline was noon. They'd cut it close, probably intentionally. Passive-aggressive final gesture. I carried coffee to the living room, sat in the armchair positioned to see the front door, waited. Stephen Campbell had texted earlier. Final documents prepared. Debt collection lawsuit ready for Monday filing, unless payment arrangement confirmed. Traffic fine liability transferred to actual driver. Social Security notified of Pearl Phillips' housing status per your evidence. Every piece in place. Every consequence documented. At 10:15, Mark's Honda Civic pulled into the driveway. Doors opened. 3 figures emerged, moving slowly. They entered using keys, hadn't returned those yet. I remained seated, watching. Grace saw me first. Her face hardened. "We're here to get our things, then we're gone." "You have until noon," I said. Neutral tone, statement of fact. Mark and Pearl headed upstairs immediately. Grace lingered, looking around the living room. Last time she'd see it as someone with connection here. Whatever she felt, she kept hidden. I returned to the kitchen, gave them space but stayed within earshot. Their movements audible, drawers opening, closet doors, boxes being filled. Pearl's voice sharp. "Where's my blue suitcase?" Mark, "Check the closet again." Grace frustrated. "Just pack everything. We'll sort it later." Sounds of effort. Furniture scraping floors, cardboard boxes. They'd brought their own this time. I monitored security feeds, watching them work. Mark carrying boxes downstairs. Grace organizing items in the guest bedroom. Pearl moving slowly, favoring her right knee. Arthritis real, even if she'd exaggerated it to Deputy Crawford. Grace carried a box downstairs, set it by the front door, turned back for another load. Her phone rang. She answered. "Mom, I can't talk now. We're moving out." Pause. "No, I don't know where we're going yet." Mark's looking at apartments. Longer pause. Her expression shifting. Confusion, then alarm. "What do you mean you got something in the mail? From who?" Pause. "Campbell and Associates? When did—" She stopped. Eyes found me in the kitchen doorway. "I'll call you back." She ended the call, stood motionless, processing. "You sent something to my mother's address?" "I sent legal documents to last known address on file. Your mother's house in Gladwin, where you lived before moving in here rent-free. Grace pulled her phone out again, texted rapidly. 30 seconds later, her phone chimed. She opened the attachment, read. Color drained from her face. You're suing me? $47,000? Debt collection. All loans documented. Repayment promised, never delivered. Legal remedy. Mark, coming downstairs with another box, heard this. What? Grace showed him the phone. He read, set the box down heavily. This lists every loan, every date, every amount, his voice hollow. Atlantic City weekend. That was medical emergency. Car damage photos. Those were fake. All of it. Every lie we told. Every fraud you committed, I corrected. Pennsylvania law defines obtaining money through false pretenses as theft. I'm pursuing civil recovery. Could pursue criminal charges. Haven't decided yet. Mark pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. Had been carrying it, hadn't mentioned it. Got this yesterday. Forwarded from our old apartment. He opened it, read aloud. Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Outstanding violations for vehicle registration. PA 47229 KLM. Total fines. $3,400. Failure to pay within 30 days results in license suspension and additional penalties. He looked at me. The Lexus. These are parking tickets, speeding cameras, toll violations from the past year. Vehicle registered in my name, I said. Fines assessed to registered owner. I've transferred liability to actual driver. You and Grace. Documentation submitted last week. Grace's voice rose. You're making us pay for tickets on your car? My car that you drove exclusively for 2 years without compensation. Insurance, registration, maintenance, all my expense. Approximately $9,000 annual cost. You paid $0. Now you pay the fines you incurred. Mark's hands trembled slightly holding the letter. $3,400, on top of $47,000 lawsuit. We can't. You should have considered that before committing fraud and traffic violations. Pearl descended the stairs, carrying a small bag. Stopped at the bottom, breathing heavily. From her purse, she pulled a crumpled envelope. Threw it on the floor near my feet. You did this. I know you did. I picked it up. Official Social Security Administration, letterhead. Opened it, read, Notice of Benefit Recalculation. Our records indicate recipient Pearl Phillips has been residing with family members without contributing to household expenses. Survivor benefits received while living rent-free with relatives may require adjustment per SSA guidelines. Please contact our office within 15 days. I handed it back to her. I provided factual information. You claim poverty while living free in my house, eating my food, using my utilities. That's benefit fraud. Pearl's voice shook with rage. They'll cut my benefits. I'll have nothing. You'll have what you're legally entitled to, not fraudulently obtained excess. She opened her mouth to respond, closed it, picked up her bag and walked toward the door. Mark, quiet, defeated. You really did think of everything. 40 years prosecuting criminals teaches thoroughness. Grace sat on the bottom stair, box beside her, forgotten. Looking at her phone screen, lawsuit documents still visible. Every dollar, you tracked every single dollar. Every transaction included description, temporary loan, repayment by date. Your written promises, your signatures on some, text message confirmations on others, bank records showing transfers, complete documentation. Mark joined her on the stairs, read over her shoulder, scrolling through the attachment. Medical bills that didn't exist, car damage that never happened, emergency expenses that were vacations. He has proof of all of it. Grace's voice came barely audible. When did you start? When did you decide to do this? October 13th, after overhearing your phone conversation about waiting for me to die so you could have the house. That's when I knew you weren't family anymore. You were adversaries, so I treated you accordingly. By building a legal case against your own daughter. By protecting myself from people attempting to defraud me. Happens you're my daughter, doesn't exempt you from consequences. Pearl standing by the door with her belongings. You're inhuman. Normal people don't do this to family. Normal families don't assault elderly parents with boiling soup. Don't conspire to have them declared incompetent. Don't commit fraud repeatedly while pretending affection. You created this situation. I documented it. Mark checked his watch. 11:40. We need to finish. They worked in silence. Final loads carried to cars, furniture from guest rooms, Grace's old dresser, Mark's desk, Pearl's rocking chair, personal items in garbage bags when boxes ran out. I stayed in the kitchen, watched through the doorway. Didn't help, didn't hinder. By 11:55, cars loaded, house empty of their presence. Grace stood in the doorway one last time, looked at the living room, dining room visible beyond, stairs leading to bedrooms where she'd grown up. "This was my home," she said quietly. "It was your parents' home. Your mother and I bought it together, worked for it together, paid mortgage for 30 years. You lived here as child because we provided for you. That doesn't make it yours. I meant I had memories here, good memories. So did I, until you poured soup on me and ordered me out. That memory replaced the others." She turned to leave, stopped, faced me one last time. "The lawsuit. The 47,000. If we can't pay, payment plan available, 500 monthly. Start paying, I won't file suit. Missed payments, civil judgment proceeds. Wages garnished, assets seized, credit destroyed, your choice. 500 a month for 8 years? 7 years, 10 months. I calculated interest at 6% annually per Pennsylvania legal rate. Total 55,900. Spreadsheet attached to lawsuit documents. Payment schedule included. Mark from the doorway. "Grace, we need to go." She walked out, didn't look back again. Mark followed, Pearl last. At the threshold, she turned. "I hope you choke on your victory. I hope you learn accountability. Doubt you will." Door closed. 3 car doors slamming, engines starting, vehicles backing out, driving away. I walked to the front window, watched them disappear down the street, pulled phone from pocket, texted Stephen Campbell. "They've vacated, house secured. Proceed with Monday filings unless payment received by end of business today." His response immediate. "Understood, standing by." I set the phone down, looked around the empty, quiet house, exactly as it should be. Saturday evening passed in profound silence. Guest rooms empty, bathroom cleared, kitchen missing their dishes. Silence felt liberating, not lonely. At 11:03 p.m., phone rang. Unknown number. "Jesse Turner," Grace's voice, careful. "Dad, it's me. Please don't hang up. I need to talk, face to face." I considered refusing. Curiosity won. "Walnut Street Coffee Shop. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. "Thank you. This doesn't change anything. Lawsuit proceeds unless payment starts immediately." "I understand." Sunday afternoon, I arrived early at the coffee shop, chose table by window, back to wall, prosecutor habit. Grace appeared at 1:58. Hair pulled back simply, minimal makeup, exhaustion visible. She ordered coffee, sat across from me. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly. She sipped coffee, gathered herself. "I was wrong. Everything Thursday night, the soup, forcing you out. I'm sorry." "Yes," I agreed. "It is unforgivable." She blinked, had expected softening. "But I'm asking, any way to fix what I broke? You can't fix trust once destroyed. Only accept consequences." Her expression shifted. "Consequences, that's all you care about. You assaulted me, conspired against me, committed fraud. Relationship doesn't exempt criminal behavior. 47,000 isn't one mistake. It's years of deliberate theft." She stood, paced to window. "You're destroying me, my job, my marriage, my future." I let her spiral. Prosecutor technique. Everyone will say bitter old man destroyed his daughter over money. Everyone who matters knows the truth. I sent evidence to family. Nobody's calling me cruel except people who committed crimes. She returned, sat heavily. "What do you want?" "You face consequences, pay debts, learn accountability. 500 monthly for 8 years. We can't survive that. Should have considered that before fraud." Tears on her cheeks now, real ones. "Please, there has to be mercy, recognition that I'm your daughter." I finished coffee, looked directly at her. "I gave you everything. University tuition, 87,000, wedding, 23,000, loans, 47,000, total, $165,000. Never asked repayment, only wanted basic respect." I stood. "Debt exists. Payment plan, 500 monthly. Start Friday or lawsuit proceeds. house, inheritance, assets, gone forever. These are consequences. What happens after debt's paid? Then you're debt-free. Life continues. But we're not family? No, that ended when you assaulted me. Some things can't be repaired. I really did love you, as a kid. I was same person then. Difference is you benefited. Once you thought you could take without giving, love became inconvenient. I pulled on jacket. Will I see you again? Unlikely. You destroyed that connection. I'm just recognizing reality. I paused at door, turned back. I'm not celebrating your suffering, but I spent 2 years being manipulated, stolen from. This week, I ended that. I feel nothing except relief. Grace's face crumpled. I left, walked to car, drove home. Phone buzzed. Text from Grace. First payment Monday, direct deposit. I'll send confirmation. I typed, acknowledged, lawsuit suspended pending payment. Entered house, closed door. Silence, security, solitude, not victory, just justice. First week of December, passed in reconstruction. Changed locks Monday. Security system upgraded Tuesday. House felt lighter, like removing heavy furniture revealed space underneath. Removed all traces from guest rooms. Mark's borrowed tools donated to Goodwill, reclaiming territory. Phone remained quiet. Grace silent since Sunday. Pearl's number blocked. Stephen Campbell emailed Wednesday. Payment pending. Grace confirmed first installment December 15th. Lawsuit suspended. Life settling into new patterns. Cousin Margaret called mid-December. Saw Grace at grocery store in Kensington, comparing pasta prices. She's learning to budget, I said neutrally. You don't feel anything? I feel justice is functioning. She's repaying debt, appropriate outcome. Through family grapevine, picture emerged. Grace and Mark rented apartment in Kensington, $1,400 monthly. Combined income, $6,500. Mark took weekend job at Home Depot. Grace stopped professional hairstyling. Pearl moved to New Jersey. I felt nothing. Just acknowledgement systems were functioning. December 15th, bank showed deposit, $500. Grace Phillips, debt payment $195. Text from Grace. Payment sent, confirmation attached. Replied, received, payment 1 acknowledged. Next payment, January 15th. Pure transaction. Stephen Campbell called, payment posted, client maintaining terms. Remarkable case. Textbook elder abuse defense turned offense. Satisfied justice was served. Mid-December, focused on house improvements. Kitchen repainted soft gray. Living room furniture rearranged. Security system expanded. Replaced damaged dining chair. Updated estate documents with Stephen Campbell. Veterans Support Foundation, confirmed as primary recipient. Late December, met Thomas Brennan from Veterans Foundation. Former Marine Development Director. Your bequest, approximately $700,000, will transform our programs. Homeless veterans, job training, mental health. Better than enriching people who'd squander it. We discussed logistics, professional conversation. Whatever happened, you're creating something positive. Veterans won't know the story, but they'll feel the impact. That's sufficient. Christmas approached, first alone in 43 years. Margaret invited me for dinner. I declined. Prefer quiet this year. Christmas Eve, prepared simple meal, set table for one, no pretense. Phone buzzed, text from Grace. It's Christmas, Merry Christmas, hope you're okay. Considered responses. Acknowledged, hope you're managing. Barely, but managing. Mark's working hard. Good. Survival is earned, not given. Christmas passed quietly. December 30th, Stephen Campbell texted, all documents finalized, legal matters concluded. New Year's Eve, stayed home, watched ball drop alone, just acknowledgement, survived, established justice. Midnight, text from Grace, payment 2, sent, due 1/15, confirmation attached. Early, January 15th was 2 weeks away, checked bank, $500, 2nd of 95. Received, payment 2 acknowledged, 7 years, 9 months remaining. Walked to window, snow beginning to fall, new year, new chapter, same principles, justice functioning, January 1st. New year dawned cold. I woke early, made coffee, carried it to living room. House profoundly quiet. Not lonely silence, chosen tranquility. Phone showed notifications. Stephen Campbell. Happy New Year. Final estate documents attached. Everything sealed. Opened attachments. Trust irrevocable. Will filed. Beneficiary designations confirmed. Power of attorney assigned to attorney, not family. Complete legal fortress. Second notification. Automated bank alert. Recurring payment received. $500. Grace Phillips. Early again. She was learning compliance. 7 years, 9 months remaining. I opened laptop. Created document. Case review. Turner v. Turner Phillips. Listed facts dispassionately. Defendant actions. Assault. Conspiracy. Fraud. Attempted coercion. Plaintiff response. Documentation. Legal consultation. Medical evaluation. Estate restructuring. Eviction. Debt collection. Outcomes: defendants removed, payment plan initiated, criminal charges reserved, estate secured, legal costs minimal. Conclusion: case successful, justice served. Elder abuse carries consequences. Save document, close laptop. 40 years prosecuting criminals. Never prosecuted family before. Shouldn't have needed to. January 15th. Payment posted on schedule. Grace maintaining perfect compliance. Text arrived. Payment 2 confirmed. January 15th, receipt attached. Replied, acknowledged, payment 2 received. Next payment, February 15th. But she responded more. I get it now. What I did. Took losing everything to understand. Considered ignoring. Responded honestly. Understanding after consequences isn't wisdom. It's expensive education. Fair, but I'm learning. Mark got permanent position at Home Depot. Management training. Good. Necessity clarifies priorities. I won't pretend we'll reconcile, but I'm trying to become someone who deserved your help, retroactively. You're becoming someone who earns what she has. That's sufficient. Good luck, Grace. Thanks. Same to you. Last personal exchange, appropriate conclusion. Mid-January, Stephen Campbell requested meeting. His office, Center City. Everything sealed, payment schedule on track. He pulled file. Professionally speaking, unusual case. Most elder abuse ends badly. You flip the script. I had advantages, legal training, financial resources. You had courage, 3 months documenting abuse. Most people would have exploded emotionally, destroyed their case. 40 years teaches patience. Do you regret it? Permanent family rupture? Answered honestly, I regret it was necessary. Don't regret that I did it. Alternative was accepting abuse indefinitely. That's not a price I'd pay for a relationship that wasn't real. January 20th, letter from Veterans Support Foundation. Board accepted your bequest. We're establishing Turner Fund for homeless veteran housing. Your legacy will be tangible, lasting, honorable. Legacy secured. Money helping people who served honorably, not enriching those who squandered trust. Satisfying. January evening, kitchen table. Open notebook, wrote, 40 years I prosecuted criminals. But most important case was against my family. Most painful, most necessary, most clear-cut. Grace committed crimes believing family exempted consequences. She was wrong. I didn't destroy her life. I removed unearned privileges. She has apartment, job, husband working, debt repayable. Consequences proportional to actions. That's accountability. I have house, assets secured, estate distributed properly, safety, peace, chosen solitude. Some call this sad. Elderly man alone, family estranged. I call it honest. No more pretending dysfunction is normal. No more accepting disrespect. No more funding fraud. Just truth. I'm 67, healthy, financially secure, legally protected, alone by choice, living with integrity. Justice isn't pleasant, but it's necessary. Case closed. Set pen down. Closed notebook. Phone buzzed. Cousin Margaret. Coffee this week? Replied. Thursday works. Morning good? Perfect. 10 a.m. Life continuing. Relationships with people respecting boundaries. Simple, honest interactions. Exactly what I wanted. Final check of accounts. Balance healthy. Debt payment received. Investments growing. Estate managed professionally. Numbers told story. Victim became victor through competence. through documentation, legal knowledge, strategic planning, absolute refusal to accept abuse. Closed laptop, locked doors, new locks, my keys, my security, set alarm, checked cameras. Tomorrow would bring routine, coffee, newspaper, walk, quiet day and quiet house. No drama, no manipulation, no plotting. Just peaceful existence earned through 4 decades public service and 3 months private justice. Climb stairs, change clothes, set alarm, last thought. 40 years. Prosecuting criminals, most satisfying verdict came against people sharing my DNA. Justice didn't care about relationships, only facts, evidence, appropriate consequences. Neither did I anymore. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.